Hey guys, BB Tech Wiz here. So today we're going to jump into SQL Server Management Studio or SSMS and some basics and just tips and tricks while using this software. So I have it open here and we're just going to be using a SQL Express server. So for local development, it's great for like lightweight for learning, testing, and small projects since we don't have a full-scale SQL server. So I have that installed. You can get that from the Microsoft site. And then we're also going to be using as our test environment a sample database called AdventureWorks, which is also free from Microsoft. So I'll include those links if you want to install those before you watch the video. If you don't have this environment set up, you can do that. So I'm on the latest version of SSMS here. I noticed something in the top right on the new version. They've integrated GitHub Copilot. We're not going to use that in this demo, but maybe I'll make a future demo with this and after I do some testing with this. So first things first, you launch the software, you need to connect to a database. So you click connect here in the Object Explorer, Database Engine, and you'll see here localhost SQL Express. This is what you will see if you install SQL Express and you'll connect with Windows Auth. We'll click the connect button. Now we're connected. So if you expand databases, you'll see this AdventureWorks database, which I have for testing. And if you want to get this here and you don't know how, you can right click database, click restore database, click device, click the three dots, click add, and then you can select your download of your database, which is usually a BAK file, and then you can click OK and import that database. So we have AdventureWorks here. Just to do some test queries and things with, and we'll go from there. So I guess just some basics. If you don't know what you're looking at here, you have security logins. Here's my Windows login, and that's how I'm accessing this database, right? I have permission, as well as the authentication, the security on the database level. You can see me there as well. So you can quickly look at that for a user. If you just right click the user, click properties, and you click user mapping, you can see that I'm mapped to have permission to the AdventureWorks database. So, and then you can control those roles as well here. So that's just a basic on security. We're not going to jump into that very far today, but um, there's something to point out if you're having issues with that. Also, this is the connect button as well as this that launches the window automatically. And this is the disconnect. So I just disconnected myself. I'll reconnect. Okay, so we're going to expand the database here, the AdventureWorks database, free from Microsoft, and you'll see all these tables. So the quickest way if you want to look at data in a table is simply to just click the table, to right-click the table, and click Select Top 1,000 Rows. So you'll see all the columns here, these columns, and 1,000 rows. Down in the bottom right, you can see the number of rows returned by your query, and we can change that to 10,000 if we want. Click Execute, and then we got 10,000 rows of data. So that's handy. If you want to just select data to quickly get a preview of the schema or something like that, you can do that. And then if you're on a table, you can expand the table. Click this button to expand the table and see the columns keys, the primary and foreign key in this table, the triggers, the indexes, and we're not going to dive into the indexes or triggers in this video, but that's where they're at. So something interesting here is generally, right, you have your query select from and then your table name. But what's cool is you can just click and drag and you can place that in there. And then if I wanted to look at the columns and I only want specific columns, I can drag those as well. So I'm going to show you a cool little trick here. We'll click and drag a few columns. And once we click and drag those columns, really neat little trick that we'll do. So when you have these column names, right, we're getting these red errors because we don't have commas. So what we can do is we can hold the Alt key and then drag downward like this. This is a really cool trick. We can add a comma to every row all at once. So it's a multi-line edit. And we don't need this last comma, so we'll take it away. We will click execute. And there we go. We've selected from the person table with just these 4 columns. So what most people do when you're just running a query and you're not worried about the size of the table, you can just do select asterisk, and that will return all the tables. So, or sorry, all the rows of the table. So in this case, this table has 19,000 rows, which in the SQL world, that's not a lot. It returned in not even a second. So quick, but sometimes you don't want to do that if you're looking at a large table with millions of rows. So in this case, what I normally do is I'll do like say on a top 10, but I still want to select all the columns because the asterisk selects columns. It'll select all the columns, but only 10 rows. So this is a pretty handy little feature. So just to point something out, guys, we right-clicked on the table and we did select top 1,000 rows, and that's just a select read-only view, right? So we're just looking at this data and the results returned. Now, if we want to actually edit that data, we can click Edit Top 200 Rows, and this gives us an interface with a GUI. You can see some fields I've updated here, where I'm just typing Brad after these names, and I'm actually updating this data in the table. I can exit and it's already updated. If we select the top 1,000 rows, we actually see those results changed live. Now, you don't have to do that in the GUI, right? Because if you do that, you can do that through a query as well. So normally on an existing record, you would use an update command. So you'd say update person and set, which one did we change? I think it was first name. Set first name equal to, um, we'll do my name, Brad, where the business entity ID equals 1. So this name is now Ken. When I run this query and then I reselect, it should be Brad. And we see that change. So you can update this way, or you can use the edit feature on the table. Either way works. I generally use the query just because it helps you understand SQL a little more. But so if you want to select, you can right click, select the top 1,000. You can write a query such as this. If you want to edit, you can click this or write a query such as this update. Now, if you want to see the table schema, you can right click and then go to script table as create to new query window. And then you have a picture of the schema, the columns, their data types, and then other information down here. So we're not going to dive too much into that, but if you want to look at the schema, there it is. So we're going to jump into just a quick few debugging and monitoring tricks. And the first one, simply just if you go out to the server and you right click and you click activity monitor, you can actually see the processor time, waiting task, database IO, batch requests per second from your SQL Server, in our case SQL Express. So you have that activity monitor there. So another very useful trick for just taking some data and exporting it, and you can actually import into other tools or data analysis type tools, is you can come down here in the results in the top left corner. You can click. This selects everything. If you just want to copy it, copy with headers, you can. But one cool feature is if you right click there and you click save as results as, you can save that as a CSV. So if we just do people and we save, now we have a copy of that exported. Works well for backing up data too, and in this case our query only had 1,000 rows, so we just saved a CSV with those 1,000 rows. So another trick I found very useful is when you open a query window and you're working in an environment that has a dev SQL server and a production SQL server, sometimes you want to run this query across multiple servers or you're connected to the wrong one. So what you'll notice is down here in this yellow bar on the bottom, there's some useful information. There's our server connection, our username that we're logged in as, and our database name. So if we want to change any of those things in the context of this query window, we can do that. So we right click inside the window and we go to connection, change connection. So say we have this query we wrote and we don't want to open a new query window, we can simply come in here and we can erase the server name. And I don't have another instance set up to show you, but it's a very useful tool when you're switching between environments. So then you can change that, click connect, and connect to that new environment and run that query in a new environment, and you would see that down here, the connection would show a different server here. All right, guys, well, those are the basics, just some quick tips and tricks. I hope this helped you out. If it did, let me know in the comments. I'd appreciate it. And if you want more advanced SQL Server or SSMS videos, let me know and we can get into that. Thanks, guys.